Marcus Williams had learned that dignity wasn't found in what you did for a living, but in how you carried yourself while doing it. As he pushed his cleaning cart down the polished marble hallway of Westfield Elementary at 6:47 p.m., the echo of his footsteps mixed with the distant sound of music from the gymnasium. Tonight was the school's annual spring dance, and while other parents were dropping off their children in fancy cars, Marcus was here earning the $23 an hour that kept his 7-year-old daughter fed and their small apartment warm. The irony wasn't lost on him. 5 years ago, he'd been an architectural engineer pulling 6 figures, designing office buildings and luxury homes. But cancer doesn't care about your career trajectory, and neither do medical bills. When his wife Sarah lost her battle, she took with her not just his heart, but every savings account, every investment, every safety net they'd built together. What remained was little Emma, a mortgage he couldn't afford, and a choice between pride and survival. Marcus chose Emma. Always Emma. He'd sold the house, moved to a 2-bedroom apartment across town, and took the first job that offered health insurance and flexible hours. Westfield Elementary needed someone reliable for evening cleaning, someone who understood that schools were sacred spaces where dreams were either nurtured or crushed. Marcus understood that better than most. As he approached the gymnasium, the music grew louder. Through the small window in the double doors, he could see children spinning and laughing under twinkling lights. Parent volunteers had transformed the space into something magical. Silver streamers caught the light like stars, and balloons bobbed gently from every corner. For a moment, Marcus allowed himself to imagine bringing Emma to something like this, watching her face light up as she danced. But Emma was at home with Mrs. Chen, their elderly neighbor who watched her for free in exchange for Marcus helping with her groceries and minor repairs. This dance cost $15 per child, plus the expectation of new clothes and accessories. $15 might not sound like much to most parents here, but it represented to meals, or a third of their electricity bill. Marcus was reaching for his keys to unlock the janitor's closet when he heard it, a small voice, barely audible over the music. "Excuse me, mister." He turned to find a girl about Emma's age standing in the hallway. She wore a beautiful lavender dress that probably cost more than Marcus made in a week. But what struck him wasn't her clothes, it was her eyes, bright, hopeful, and framed by thick glasses that made her look wise beyond her years. She leaned heavily on forearm crutches, her legs thin and unsteady beneath her. "Hey there," Marcus said, kneeling down to her eye level. "Are you okay? Did you get separated from your family?" The girl shook her head, her dark curls bouncing. "I'm Sophie. I was wondering, would you maybe want to dance with me?" Marcus felt his heart catch. Behind her, through the gym doors, he could see other children paired off, some with parents, others with friends, but Sophie stood alone in the hallway, having ventured out to find someone, anyone, who might share a dance with her. "Sophie, that's very sweet of you to ask," Marcus said gently, "but I'm working right now. Shouldn't you be in there with your mom or dad?" Sophie's face fell slightly. "Mom's here, but she's talking to other grown-ups about boring business stuff." And she hesitated, looking down at her crutches. "I asked some kids to dance, but they said they might trip over my crutches or something. So I thought maybe you might not mind." In that moment, Marcus saw Emma. He saw every child who'd ever been made to feel different, overlooked, or less than. He saw the courage it took for Sophie to walk out here and ask a stranger to dance, and he knew there was only one answer he could give. "You know what, Sophie, I would be honored to dance with you." Her face transformed, radiating pure joy. "Really, really? But I have to warn you, I'm not the world's best dancer." Sophie giggled. "That's okay. I'm not either," Marcus said aside his cleaning supplies and offered Sophie his arm. Together, they walked into the gymnasium, where the DJ was playing a gentle pop song that was perfect for swaying. Other parents glanced their way, some curious, others slightly judgmental about the janitor in work clothes joining the festivities. But Marcus didn't care. He focused entirely on Sophie as she carefully propped her crutches against the wall and placed her hands on his shoulders. He held her waist gently, supporting her weight as they began to move slowly to the music. "My dad used to dance with me like this," Sophie said softly, "before he went to heaven." Marcus felt a familiar ache in his chest. "I bet he was a good dancer, the best," Sophie said with certainty. "He said dancing isn't about how you move your feet, it's about how you move your heart." "Your dad sounds like a smart man." They swayed together. This unlikely pair, a janitor in a worn uniform, and a little girl in a lavender dress, round them, The party continued, but in their small circle. Something beautiful was happening. Sophie's face glowed with happiness, and for the first time in months, Marcus felt something other than exhaustion and worry. "Thank you," Sophie whispered as the song wound down. "This is the best dance I've ever had. Thank you for asking me." Marcus replied, "You made my whole week." As they separated, Sophie retrieved her crutches with practiced ease. "Maybe we could dance again sometime? I'd like that very much." Sophie beamed and began making her way back toward a group of adults near the refreshment table. Marcus was about to return to his work when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Standing near the gymnasium entrance, partially hidden behind a decorative column, was a woman in an elegant black dress. She held a phone in her hand, and Marcus realized with growing horror that she'd been recording their dance. His first instinct was panic. In today's world, videos could be twisted, misinterpreted, and viral within hours. A janitor dancing with a student, he could already imagine the headlines, the assumptions, the destruction of his reputation and livelihood. He took a step toward the woman, ready to ask her to delete whatever she'd captured, but something in her expression stopped him. She wasn't smirking or looking predatory. Instead, tears were streaming down her face, and her hands were shaking as she lowered the phone. The woman was strikingly beautiful, with Sophie's same dark hair and intelligent eyes. She wore jewelry that Marcus recognized as expensive, the kind of pieces his wife used to admire in magazine spreads. Everything about her screamed wealth and power. From her perfectly tailored dress to her confident posture, she approached Marcus slowly, almost reverently. "Excuse me," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm Victoria Chen, Sophie's mother." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Chen, as in Chen Industries, the technology conglomerate whose logo he saw on buildings throughout the city. As in one of the wealthiest families in the state, he was suddenly acutely aware of his stained uniform, his calloused hands, the smell of cleaning chemicals that probably clung to his clothes. "Mrs. Chen," he said carefully, "I hope you don't mind that I danced with Sophie." "She seemed mind," Victoria interrupted, her voice breaking. "I've been trying to figure out how to thank you." Marcus blinked in confusion. Victoria wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. "Sophie lost her father 2 years ago. Since then, she's been different, quieter. She used to love dancing, but after the accident that damaged her legs, and losing David, she stopped asking. Tonight was the first time in 2 years that I've seen her approach someone for a dance." She looked across the room to where Sophie was now chatting animatedly with another little girl. Her whole demeanor transformed. "I've been watching from over there," Victoria continued, "taking business calls, networking, doing all the things I thought were important. I didn't even notice that my daughter was standing alone. But you did." Marcus felt uncomfortable with the praise. "Any decent person would have." "No," Victoria said firmly, "they wouldn't have. Do you know how many people walked past her in that hallway? How many parents saw her standing there and found reasons to look away? You were working. You had every excuse to say no, but you didn't." She paused, struggling with emotion. "I built a billion-dollar company," she said quietly, "but I couldn't give my daughter what you just gave her in 3 minutes. You gave her dignity. You gave her joy. You reminded her that she's worthy of someone's time and attention." Marcus felt tears prick his own eyes. "She's an amazing kid. You should be proud." I am. But I'm also ashamed. I've been so focused on providing for her financially that I forgot about providing for her emotionally. I work 18-hour days. I miss school events. I pay other people to drive her places and help with homework. I tell myself it's all for her. But watching you to dance," Victoria's voice trailed off, "being a parent is hard." Marcus said gently, "We all do the best we can with what we have." Victoria looked at him with new interest. "You're a father." "I have a daughter, Emma. She's 7, about Sophie's age." "Is she here tonight?" Marcus hesitated, then decided on honesty. "No, we couldn't afford it." The words hung in the air between them. Victoria's expression shifted, and Marcus braced himself for pity or awkwardness. Instead, he saw understanding. "My husband used to say that the most important thing we could teach Sophie was empathy," Victoria said slowly. "That no matter how much money we had, we should never forge